Those who know me know that I used to write for the local paper, and I'm very much involved in several community activities, or at least over the last 12 to 15 years. I am a former educator for many, many years and a former school administrator for almost as many years. I've retired, and now what I do is I write. I love to write. I love to write about history. I love to write about untold stories.
Now tell us the name of this new book.
The name of the book is entitled 24 Extraordinary People Who Made a Difference. And I love this title because it was given to me by a dear friend. And one of the
I see some locals, and so are they all locals? Or?
Oh, yes, they're all locals. Local. Yeah, well, I neglected to say that this range is from emancipation, which is 1865, all the way up to 1984. Some say, well, why stop at 84? I had to cut it off somewhere, I'd still be writing. And you see some people who are actually still living, Barbie Hughes, Charles Ann Button. Here's the thing. When I was researching for this book and asking for referrals about people who have paid it forward in Georgetown, I discovered that a lot of people referred me to people. But when I investigated it, I found out they really didn't do much for Georgetown. Now, they may have gone on to other cities and states and as we say, did good, but they weren't loyal to the soil of Georgetown.
Right.
And, I got a little weary of hearing about all of these football players, and other people have gone off places and done great things, but they didn't bring it back to Georgetown. I'm here to tell you that everyone in this book has uplifted Georgetown in some way or the other. And when I say uplifted it, I'm talking about provided transportation during segregation. I'm talking about medical facilities, hospitals. I'm talking about a water company. I'm talking about educators. I'm talking about motels. Lillian Golden Pyatt, who, as almost everyone knows, at the Mackenzie Beach or Magnolia Beach, she provided a motel for black motorists at a time where they had no place to rest over. And you know the story. Duke Ellington and Lena Horne and several other prominent musicians stayed over at her place. And if you know the story about Charlie's Place in Myrtle Beach, you know, now this didn't happen to her, but you also know that Charlie's Place was shot up and tore, I don't know if it was burned down, but they destroyed it with over 500 bullets one night, they being the KKK. So I want young people to understand that some people before them made some sacrifices.
Now you've got 24 people that you profile in this book. How did you choose the 24?
Well, like I said, many of them I knew. Some of them I knew from my book, Ebony Effects. But some of them, even though I did profiles of them in my book, Ebony Effects, I didn't go into depth. Now, one thing I should mention right off, that this book is about stories, narrative. And you know, a story has to have an antagonist and a protagonist. It has to have a plot. It has to have something. So one of the things that I did when I started researching these 24 people, some of their stories I knew, some of them I didn't. Okay? And then some of them, I still find the stories incredulous. For instance, Joseph Haynes Rainey. Most people who are from Georgetown know about Joseph Haynes Rainey. But what they did not know is that he was ambushed in Bennettsville by a group called the Red Shirts. This was the pre-national KKK. They just called themselves Red Shirts. Began by Ben Tillman. Some of you know who I'm talking about. So they ambushed him thinking he was coming from Congress on his way campaigning. He had to come through Bennettsville. But you have to read the book to find out what happened. Obviously, they didn't kill him, but they tried. And so it's stories like that. I have other stories about Miss Ruby, the time a good friend of mine brought a snake to her
And for those not familiar, Miss Ruby, is that the same from Miss Ruby's Kids?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
Same Miss Ruby,
Yeah,
you know. And then there's Houston Parson, who was driving a bus, and again they stopped him and said, "Don't come through this neighborhood. You know who the they is." But it's not just ancient history. There's Irvin Parker, who's a football player, who's born and raised in Chapee, made it to the Buffalo Bills, Seattle Seahawks, and so many other teams. And when he was in high school, he got the big head. and his coach, Coach Spears, legendary, who's still living.
Oh, yeah.
He and his father had to give him an attitude adjustment. So read that story. It's a wonderful story in there. There's stories in here about Judge Huey Walker. Before he was a judge, he was a champion. He was a champion for not just civil rights, but the rights of the disabled. Charles Ann Button, when she became one of the first black administrators and educators at Kingston, something happened. What happened? You got to read the book.
How can people get a copy of this book?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. The first thing is, all of my books have my information in it, my email address, my phone number, and I don't do Facebook that often, but you can hit me up on Facebook as well. The best way is to call me and leave a message or email me. Either way, I will get it, and if you live locally, I will see that you get it. And this week we're going to be supplying many of the stores, Front Street, some of the other entities, and Pawleys Island restaurants with the book, okay? I've only have a few, but some more books are coming. And so the best, now the other way, of course, is to get it online. Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, all of that.